We're here because we want to find out about coaching on that which is greater. And our guest, you can read about him in the recap, but I have some other interesting things that I didn't even know about this guy. Daniel Schlorf, besides being a pastor and coach, is an accomplished musician as vocalist and instrumentalist, having performed over 20 Bach cantatas as vocal soloist and chorister, leading the string bass section of the American Chamber Orchestra, and being a sought-after bass soloist for Handel's Messiah. And by the way, he cooks. Daniel, thank you so much for being our guest today and our presenter. I'm anxious to find out. I love the question that we supported our callers, our guests with today. Over to you, my friend.
Thank you, Gary. Another thing that enlivens my soul is when people pronounce Bach as Bach. So thank you for doing that for me.
Did I? I didn't even notice.
Oh, you did. You did. You also said Handel, which is correct.
Sehr Deutsch, gell? Alles. Alles gut.
Yeah. Also, I would add, I'm secretary of the board of directors for the GCA. And I'm on the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Council. If you're interested in joining the DEIB Council, we're always looking for new people. I'm going to put my email in the chat box right now. So if that speaks to you, if you think that might enliven your soul, and we are working on making the GCA more diverse, more inclusive, more equitable. Please do feel free to join us. So that's my little plug. So anyway, what are we talking about? We're talking about that which is greater. But what is that which is greater, right? You probably read the promo and everything that went out. But when I say that which is greater, I mean it's another way of saying universe or spirit or God, if you will, but it's not a euphemism. I want to be clear about that. It's a more expansive term than saying just universe or God. Some of our clients, even some of us, are in recovery. So what do you say in 12-step? Higher power, right? Which is another great expansive way of talking about that which is greater. So, and it's something higher or greater than our own myopic perspective. So that's why I'm doing this today. I want to be very practical also, why are we talking about this if we're coaches and our clients, I'm not a spiritual director, I'm not a minister, right? You may be thinking to yourself, why would I talk about spirituality at all in my sessions? Well, I know some of my clients are ready to open up when they start connecting the dots in their lives. You know what I mean? So they trust that there are highs and lows in their life, but that these have meaning and purpose. And they're asking for a higher perspective. They may know they're being prepared for something significant or even magnificent. Sometimes life doesn't give answers. So we just have to trust that each step leads us closer to something, maybe even someone. For example, I love it when a client says something like, I needed that job to figure out that I don't like that management style, so I can be a better manager to my employees. Something like that. So connecting the dots, finding a greater purpose. Or I love it when someone says something like, I needed to end that codependent relationship from hell so I could be one step closer to being available to the person my heart truly desires. Now that's meaning and purpose right there, right? So here's how you might know you have someone interested in broaching the topic of spirituality or that which is greater. And, if you can say yes to any of these questions, just type yes in the chat box, okay? Does your client trust that the next step will be revealed at the right time? Do they trust they're being led somewhere for the highest good? Do they trust they're going to be led or even carried to the people, places, or things where they need to be, and where everything might just fall into place? So if you answered yes to any of these questions, then you may be dealing with someone or some people that might be interested in broaching that topic of spirituality. Because most of the time people are coming to coaches because they want to better themselves, whether their business performance, their health, their life, their relationship, etc. They want to live a life filled with purpose and meaning, because for people who want to have meaning in their lives, life purpose, right, is extremely important, and so much more that their main goal of their life might be to understand that purpose, that what they're here for. So life purpose is important when clients are feeling lost or like life has taken an unexpected turn. And sometimes those unexpected turns can be really unpleasant. I'm sure some of you, even in here, may have had people in your life, or even you yourselves have had unexpected turns that were like really bad. As a personal example, it took me about 13 years to recover after my mother tragically died in a car accident. It was disorienting. It was awful. As anyone who's lost a partner or a spouse or a loved one in any way, whether a parent or brother, sister, someone close to us, someone that was just about to be our partner, whoever it was, it can be earth-shattering. And so that's why this is really important, because talking about that which is greater, opening up that area, that entire huge area to talk about, may be the thing your client needs to move on to the next thing. And I want to be clear that any purpose they find, any meaning they find, they're finding within themselves. Okay. I'm not necessarily talking about that which is greater to the exclusion of ourselves. I'm actually talking about that which is greater being found within, finding the energy within, the resources within to cope with, like, if your mother dies in a car accident. And I don't think there's anyone that's so special negatively that they have no purpose. I don't think there's anyone that's that like negatively special that they don't matter. Everybody matters, and everybody has a purpose. And life is always guiding you toward that purpose, I believe. So I just want to look at this chat box here a second. Oh, John Carl Lewis, you're a spiritual director. Very nice. You better answer yes. That's right. Yeah. And Gary, as a coach, I trust that what is meant to be is available. That's beautiful. That's a good way to put it. Yeah. So believing that we have purpose and that life is always guiding you can be tough to believe sometimes. And that's the reason, one of the main reasons, your client is going to need you. Ultimately, I think when you can help someone articulate their life purpose, It helps the light bulb go on, right? It helps them have something to hook on to, and they go, yes, okay, I get that. I can take action on this now. So I want to share with you something, this exercise, to look at the definition. Before I do that, I want to look at the definition of life purpose. And, I consulted Senior Google, and he told me that the dictionary definition, I don't know which dictionary, but the dictionary definition of purpose is the reason for which something exists or is done, made, used. I'm such a dictionary snob. Like, I think the Oxford English Dictionary is the only dictionary to use. So like, I regret consulting Google for that, but it gives us a pretty basic understanding. So let's say life purpose might be the reason for which I exist or am made, or for which I am to be used. And I think that's pretty exciting. But it leaves two big gaping questions, which are, who am I, right? And what is the reason for which I exist? Who am I? And what is the reason for which I exist, my life purpose? And then that can lead to a third question even, which is, if I don't know these answers, then what does that mean about what I choose to do or not do in my life? Do you see how it kind of spirals down there? So this is confusing and bewildering and confounding and all of that. And when we feel that way, we can't know if the choices we're making are taking us closer or farther away from our purpose. So that's why it's really important to know your mission, your purpose, your meaning, why you're created, why you're here. And it's not just about what you're good at, though that could definitely be a part of it, I think. Yeah. So we're going to go to life purpose. I want to suggest that it's composed of two parts. The first part is, who am I? And the second part is, what's important to me? And both of those, if you think about it, are really what you value. So let's look at these components deeper. Who am I? That's constant. It doesn't change usually. And you don't strive to be these things. They just who you are. The second part of the definition, the life purpose, what's important to me, this is the reason for which you are made. And it, I think, presupposes that you're co-creating your life experiences with that which is greater than you. In other words, there's not a force, just to reiterate, there's not a force outside of you or separate from you to tell you what you're here for. But that which is greater than you speaks to you through your instincts, through your intuition, and through your desires. Do you see that? Yeah. So I'm going to send everyone a link, not a link. I'm going to send everyone a file. And we're going to take a look at a tool I've created with the help of someone, a book I've read. There, the purpose tool. So, oh, here, I need to send it actually. There you go. So take a look at that. I have put what are they called, viruses in there. So hope you have good antivirus. No, I didn't do that. So the purpose tool, discovering your life purpose. So this exercise is adapted from a master coach, Maria Namath, who some of you may know. She's the author of Energy of Money, Mastering Life's Energy also. What I really like about this exercise is because it's so tangible, it's so practical, it's so useful. So life purpose feels very intangible and can cause anxiety, right? But this puts it kind of like in a tangible way, then we can help people relax into it. And that's what I think this exercise accomplishes. So part one, if you're taking a look at it, is about who am I? On your handout, this is page one, column one. And what you do in the left-hand column is make a list of, like, I don't know, 3 to 5 people, living or dead, who you admire. And you're going to put those names in the left-hand column. So you put the names of the people you admire in the left-hand column. Then the second step is with the first person on the list. You're going to write out as many qualities as you can that you admire about that person, right? And why did they make it on the list? For me, number one, hands down, screen share the page for those less techie. Oh, yes, that's a great idea. I think I have that capability. I do. Oh, I need to open it first. Wait.
I didn't want to interrupt, but it seemed like a good idea.
No, that's a great idea. Thank you so much. Oh, that's Milo. Let's see, where's, I need to open the file here.
Everybody needs a Milo. Everybody needs a Milo.
Have you ever heard, whoa, Milo?
Whoa.
Come on, let's go. Wait, did someone just share that for me? Or no? Is it shared?
Yes.
I did.
Oh, you
Yes,
did.
he's
Thank you.
He's doing it on your behalf, so you can just roll with it.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it was taking me forever. Anyway, so if you take a look at page one, column one, you write the first person that comes to mind. And the first person that comes to mind for me is always Nelson Mandela. You probably heard of him. And number two, well, I'll tell you in a little bit. So the next step, you just write the second person that comes to your list and so on. And you're going to go over the qualities that you just wrote down for the first person. Now, and then the qualities of your second person and so forth. And I'll give you some time to do this and I'll kind of space out what I'm saying. Here's the cool part. You can circle or check mark the person. Circle or check mark the quality of the person in place number one that place number two has also. So for me, Nelson Mandela, the president of South Africa, takes number one slot. And I put down that he's patient and he's visionary and he's a healer. Number two is, and always will be for me, Benazir Bhutto. She's the late president of Pakistan. Also quite visionary and a healer, so I would circle those or checkbox those. And I would add tenacious. So we get to see a common thread in there. So what am I really admiring in these people, right? Okay, so we'll keep going there. So ultimately, what you're going to see is the examples on the side of all the checks that end up to a certain word, and you're going to once you're going through this and you have all the checks, you're going to notice the qualities with the most check marks next to them, and for each quality, say the quality to yourself. And notice whether your heart lights up. That's part of why we did that, what enlivens me and what deadens me, right? And this is called doing the heart light test, or in the Ignatian tradition, what enlivens your soul and what deadens your soul. And if the quality lights your heart up, you're going to transfer that quality onto page 2 under who I am, my qualities. And just going to put the ones that have the most check marks that really light up your heart. Does anyone have any questions? I feel like I'm not really explaining this well.
No, I've got a great list. Think I'm catching on. And I'm doing it my way.
Oh, well, thank you, Gary. I appreciate having your #1 slot. Yeah. So now we move on to the second part, which is what's important to me. And you're going to go to page 3, the third page. What's important to me. And then you're going to write down some things, as the slide suggests, that are important to you. You know, it could be like, I want to be financially independent. I want to have a really great looking spouse. Whatever it is, I want to be a great performer. Of Bach, right? Yeah. And you write those down. So I'll give you some time to do some of that. And then, as you see on the very bottom of your handout, we're gonna rate them 1 to 5. And I want to encourage you not to write down what you think you're supposed to write. Okay, like, oh, for myself, I'm a pastor, so I'm supposed to be saintly, right? No. If I thought I was supposed to be saintly, I never would have come out. I never would have lived my life purpose, and I never would have had integrity in my life, right? So we don't necessarily want to coach people or coach ourselves to just write down, well, you know, I'm an accountant, to use someone's example before, you know, so I want to be really good at math or whatever it is. Yes, you're creating the pages, Jim. Yes, it's just that 1-page handout that I sent. And you're creating the pages. There you go. Or on one big page like Julio's doing. Thank you, Julio.
Daniel, just so I know, are you seeing my entire screen or just the purpose tool? I want to know whether I have access to Microsoft Word without everyone seeing what I'm typing.
We see everything you're hiding, and I would recommend Pornhub instead of XTube.
Do you see
Yeah.
it where it says lifelong happiness, or are you only seeing the purpose tool?
No, it's just
Great.
the purpose tool.
We're only seeing the purpose tool.
Great. Then I can open up Word on the side to do this.
Yes. You're good.
Yeah, we can't see your screen or what kinks you have.
We'll talk later.
Okay. Yeah, so we want to encourage our clients to live authentically, honestly, openly. And so just write what truly lights up your heart, right? And then we're going to rate it. So we're probably at the point where we can rate this now. And as you complete this step and your whole page is filled out, you now have words to describe who you are, which never changes, and what's important to you, which will evolve as you evolve. And now you have a clearer articulation of your purpose. And some go on to write a personal mission statement, even like, I am a blank kind of blank who blanks in order to blank in the world today, something like that. You know, and there are mission statement generators out there and visualizations which you can use. And I'm a part of a men's organization, or have been part of a men's organization, which deals a lot with mission as well. So I laid a lot out on you, and we're just about at the top of the hour. We have some time still. Does anyone have any questions or thoughts? Anything that I said? It's probably not as churchy as maybe you might have thought I would have gone. And I think that's a good thing. So does anyone have any thoughts or questions? Just raise your hand using the hand raising function.
No ideas.
Gary.
Well, I want to say thank you for presenting it this way, because I struggle with all the religious higher power things, and for bringing it back to what you were saying earlier in the conversation, that it's within us.
Yeah.
That higher power can start with you. And I love the tool. I'm really enjoying seeing some of the answers, and I hope I'll get a chance to complete it before the end of the day, or at least the end of the week. It's just very, very informative. And thank you for a few of the suggestions too, like Nelson Mandela. I had Barack, Michelle, Harry Faddis, Cher, to name a few, and so many different qualities.
Yeah.
And then I kind of go into, yeah, but that's them, not me. Right. So I'll have to work through that.
Okay. The not good enough stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. All right.
Right.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that feedback. Cher is a wonderful world leader. She's the queen.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think of just simple things like her struggle with her child transitioning.
Okay.
Right?
Yes. Yes. Of course.
The recent loss of her mother. Her willingness to contribute to the world in music.
Yeah.
Like, the woman's in her 70s as well, right? So, and just that, I celebrate. Oh, there we go. I need to put down my mom. Speaking of, she's 90, and yesterday entertained the idea of chair yoga to her week of routine things that she still drives to, and well, I might add, and has recently took on an iPhone in the last 2 years and an iPad since Christmas. Lots of complaints, but she's making it. And and just the openness and willingness to try. She complains, oh, I'm too old. Oh, by the way, I'm going to go try out chair yoga. I want to be like her when I grow up.
Oh, that's where I was going. That's exactly where I was going. Do you see how the light in her may reflect the light in you?
Sometimes I think it's the source of my light, seeing her ahead of me, right? And just her willingness to try things, and yeah. And we have longevity in her side of the family, and I have a plan to thrive beyond 102.
Cool.
Thrive and drive. I think I'll just add that.
No, don't drive at 100.
Yes.
Yeah. And a thought just came to me. We've all heard of chair yoga. Has anyone done chair yoga? Thank you, Gary. Jim.
Yeah, thanks. Well, to begin, everything that you said and shared today totally resonates with me. So it's inspiring. And I'm a very spiritual person. I'm also very new to coaching. So I've only gone into spiritual things if the client brings it up. But I've also gone to various coaches, and I'm wondering if you have thoughts or feedback about this. I mean, I've definitely gone to coaches that it felt more like they wanted to be my spiritual guru more than they wanted to be my coach. And I feel like I see that on social media, a lot of kind of spiritual teaching as a coach. And that's not how I want to approach spirituality within coaching. Like, I don't want to be a guru. And if I wanted a guru myself, I'd go to an ashram, not a coach. So I don't know how you feel about, like, where's the line between being a spiritual teacher and a coach? How do you approach that?
So for me, I mean, the old standard is always, you go where the client leads you, right? So it's not my agenda. And so for someone to like try to impose themselves as a spiritual guru seems like a violation to me. So that's really an interesting thing you mentioned there. And I've seen that as well. Actually, I've seen that as well. So yeah. So that would be my reaction. Does anyone else have any thoughts about that? What Jim said? Briefly.
Well, interesting coming at it from the direction from a spiritual direction perspective. I often tell people I'm not a coach because I'm not directive. I feel like as a spiritual director, it's my job to follow the journey that my client is on. So even from a spiritual director perspective, that would be a little bit of an overreach.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe Harry is also a spiritual director, and Jeff mentioned he's a minister, and we might have some other people here as well there.
Yes,
too.
thank
So-
you. I do offer spiritual direction, and I follow the principle that the client's agenda is what's important. And I don't have any system that I bring. I'm not teaching anybody's system. I'm just being with the client. On the other hand, I have a lot of gay clients who have had the issue that there's nothing wrong with them psychologically. There's nothing wrong with who they are, but they are alone in the world, and they are, even if they are partnered, every day they wake up on their own. They don't have a sustaining spiritual practice or spiritual community or some place where they can always go. And I feel that that's when I encourage them to find out something that is of interest to them and to go and try it out. It could be any simple thing, could be chair yoga, or it could be walking meditation. I'd also like, for the historical record, we did this exercise about 10 years ago or 8 years ago with one of our members whose name is Ted Bates. And we did this. Yeah, it's very, yeah, I'm very happy that you brought it back, because it is a very practical exercise, and we get to have to accept ourselves as being a little bit more magnificent than we had any idea of. And that means that we have to work harder now that if we embody something of Nelson Mandela or Cher or whoever these icons are, the only reason why we got to notice them is because we have it. So step up, everybody.
Yeah. Richard, speaking of ministers.
Yes, yeah, I'm that too. Couple thoughts, and I appreciate where you're coming from, Daniel. It's really helpful, resonates deeply. And this, Daniel and I are part, or have been part of the Mankind Project. When I get coaching with CTI, they did an exercise on life purpose. And I have evolved to say it can be really overwhelming, that term, your life mission, life purpose, especially in the light of a catastrophe of the earthquakes, or I remember the tsunami that happened. If everyone has a life purpose, what just happened to those 7,000 or 10,000 people that no one will ever know their name? I've evolved to not calling it a life purpose or mission, but more do a broader question. What is purposeful living for you? Which doesn't become a mandate of sort. To be a good lover is purposeful living for me, and isn't that delightful in itself? And I took a little bit like, that's not true, but I understand where you're coming from when you said who you are doesn't change. I think you said that.
Yeah. It said like usually, like, yeah.
Yeah. So the Richard that was mid-20s, that was Presbyterian, that knew who he was, and was going to teach everybody else who they were, and they better goddamn follow God, but then had a gay experience, which shook the hell out of me. But then I had a mentor in seminary that, and I'll tell the short story, that I dropped by his office. He was the head of pastoral counseling. And my goal was to be a high steeple preacher. And David said to me one day, "You're doing really well in my courses." And I said, "David, your courses are so easy." And he said, "No, Richard, you're gifted here." And I said, "No, other people must be idiots if they're not doing well in your course." And he repeated, "You're gifted here." And that day transformed my being and my purpose, that I gave up being a big steeple preacher to be this, to be transformative. So maybe the word is evolution here. Yeah. And I bring in Rick Tamlin's work here. I don't want to talk too much. Read Who You Will Meet at the Coaches Conference, and I both trained in the bigger game, which I don't like that term either. But Rick Tamlin has an insight: as we live purposefully and live what we do, it transforms us, it grows us. And I offer that as well. But
That's
thank
great.
you, Dan. Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah, I appreciate those comments, Richard, and thank you for refining what I was saying earlier. And really where that was coming from was not intended to be doctrinaire in any way, like, oh, who we are never changes, but like, so you probably didn't really know and didn't really live who you were when you wanted to be that big steeple preacher, right? But then when you found out who you really were, when you had those transformative experiences, then you're like, ah, that's why you stripped away stuff that wasn't you, right?
And at our best, that's what we're doing with our clients.
That's right.
Saying, oh, we're going with Joseph Campbell. A door will open to you that you didn't even know was there.
Great. Thank you. Darren.
Hey there. Thank you so much for this topic. It seems like the topic that one ring to rule them all, you know, like until people find the purpose, like what other steps can you take? So I love it.
Thank you.
I just, as people were sharing about the spiritual piece, as a yoga teacher, I get people all the time coming up to me and being like, give me the answers. What happens when we die or whatever? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm not dead. So my personal policy, which I don't know if this works for anyone else, is I hold space for the questions. I don't give answers. Like, I don't have the answers. I don't know what you should do with your life. I don't know what happens when we die, or if you should follow Jesus or Buddha and Muhammad. Like, I don't know, but let's sit with those big questions and you can figure it out yourself, which I think takes me off the hook as being the guru, because I don't need to know anything. Just be patient and supportive. So there's my 2 cents. Thank you for this topic.
Yeah, thanks, Darren. One of the most powerful sentences a coach can say, spiritual director can say, a pastoral counselor or chaplain can say is, I wonder. You know, so when they make a statement, they're saying, am I really like gay? I wonder. You know, so the words are coming out of their mouths. They're saying it potentially for the very first time. And all we say is, I wonder, and we're holding space, as we say, for them. Yeah.
So then what you do, the spiritual directors and people in the group, doesn't sound too different than coaching, because we say, well, I'm curious.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Right. And
Well, I mean, I
John,
think a lot of the tools are similar.
right.
That's what we
Yeah.
say.
And John Carl, when you were saying what you were saying, I was thinking, it may not be directive, but it can be. Coaching can also be seen as directive, but definitely a tool in your toolbox. Come on, you guys are there to listen. You guys use your ears more than you do your mouth. Hello, that's core one for coaching, right?
Certainly similarities. Julio, I noticed you had your hand up earlier and you took it down.
Yeah, I forgot what it was about.
Um,
Actually, I did not forget what it was about. So but Harry actually answered it in one of his comments, which was the intention for the exercise of identifying the top people and to illustrate the characteristics of those people that are compelling to you was an exercise in getting you to already identify what was a reflection of you, and you see it in them because it is something that holds true to you. And I thought I like that, because a lot of times clients will run to the I don't know or I'm not sure. And so this is a nice way to move them towards a different way, move them away from the I don't know, because you do know when you're prompted the question in the way that you shared it.
yeah.
You know the people. Mine were Barack, Oprah, and Young Pueblo. Those are my three.
Okay. As
Anyway,
songs.
wonderful job, by the way. This was beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Yes, Maddox says you spot it, you got it.
You spot it,
That's
you
another
got
really
it.
good example.
Nice.
And I was going to say, in response to what you just said, Julio, there's a
Spirit's calling you. The spirit is calling you, baby.
as I'm sorry, I'm distracted now. Oh yeah, the song says, even to question truly is an answer. Yeah. So any last thoughts before I turn it back over? Here.
There's actually something that is on my mind, and this, of course, is a something for a later time, and I'm happy to talk with people one-on-one. But as I move into this space of coaching, and I want to serve people powerfully, even amongst this call, I've noticed we dance around the term spirituality, God, universe, and in fact, every time we use the word, we cushion it with comma X, comma Y, comma Z, comma, or whatever you believe in. And in fact, I've watched every single Oprah episode there is. And even in '87, when she was bringing spiritual reverence on her show, she also did the same thing. And so this is something that's been going on for a while. And it's just very interesting to me that every time we try and engage in it, we have to cushion it in some way, in a world where, we're losing connection to spirituality. So I don't know what to do with that. I just find that interesting. As a new coach, like, how do you approach it? How do you talk about it? And why is it so guarded? Why is there so much protection around it?
Right. Right. I wonder.
Way to close.
And on that note, Gary.
Figures. I'm not the only one that's challenged by mute buttons. Wow, I just keep writing things down and thinking of people, and I even, some of what the people have said here. Sorry to pick on you all the time, John and Carl, but naked yoga. Wow, that's something I could put your name on the list for if I kind of work backwards, because it's like, first of all, I can hardly do yoga without laughing and collapsing all the time. I can't even imagine doing it naked. So what would that take, right? And is it something I would want to do? Well, it depends on, never. Anyway, away from all the other things. Thank you so much. Totally away from what I thought, and totally worthwhile for me today to be here. And I'm so glad you took the time to do this for us, present for us, Daniel.
My pleasure. That's a great compliment. I appreciate it. Thank you. And
Yeah.
thanks everyone in the comments section too. Oh, and applause too.
Great
Wow.
job.
Exactly.
Great. Everyone unmute. Everyone unmute and say thank you, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Daniel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Definitely hold our attention.